And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault and my little boy, Adrian, and we have got a different but great show for you today. I love powerful women. I love entrepreneurial women, and I love this woman. You are going to love her too. But before we get there from here, what's up, Adrian?
Hi, Dad. How are ya?
Never better. Sorry I was late.
Jeez. Well, I've been missing the last 2 weeks, so
I know.
I suppose we're even.
Torture. So Jayla Siciliano won Shark Tank.
That's pretty crazy.
That's nuts.
That's very nuts.
But so I heard that and I thought that's good, but I wanted to hear what else was so amazing about her. And I found out that she's got this podcast called Seed Money, and she teaches people all about startups, but her massive passion is community and empowering women. And I said, we have to know her. So here we are. Jayla, how are you, kid?
I'm good. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, yeah. So tell us about, well, first of all, you live in Santa Barbara and all kinds of places. You're married to my buddy James, who happens to be, in a nutshell, like the best snowboard salesman in the world, right?
Yeah.
True. I mean, you guys can't believe it. So he gets to go to all these snowboard shows and travel all over the world. Their magnificent obsession is all these incredible, what do you call those, rental homes that you've got. And what you two have done is just monetized your passions at a level I can't believe. And I love that, because that's what we're all about, is not selling ourselves out to the man, but looking inside and saying, how can I take my passion and turn it into a buck? And that's kind of what you do, right?
Yeah, it's been a zigzag route to get here, but we've been determined to keep it that way. And yeah, so it is, we're in a good spot. Life is good. And yeah, I always say I want to be James when I grow up, because he's got such a good gig in the snowboarding industry.
I can't believe it. And everybody that I know, and I know, lots of really, really big time snowboard people. And all I need to do to get related, which is what I do for a living, is mention James's name. And he's like 12, but he's already legendary. Wow. Correct?
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah, he's been in it for a long time, so he knows a lot of people for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so Jayla, tell us a little bit of your story. And I don't know kind of what comes first in the process, whether the Shark Tank kind of was your thing that launched you into this big world of entrepreneurship, or if you were already there, but share a little bit about your background.
Yeah, Shark Tank was actually a Hail Mary, so that I'll get to that.
All right, cool.
But it was kind of it was a pivotal point, you could say. Well, I grew up in New Hampshire. My dad was an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know it was like the word entrepreneur. You know what I mean? He just had his own business, a small business. But I always saw him have flexibility and time, and spent lots of time with his family. And then I ended up getting a job out of college, got a corporate career for 7 years. I was traveling all over the world, and it was great. But I was like, wait a minute, this isn't like what my dad, what I grew up around. I'm like slaving for these other companies, going to an office all day, spending a month in China at a time. Like, this is not really what I pictured, work to be like. So I was turning 30 and I had this idea, and I was like, you know what? Then I thought, it's now or never. Now I'm sure I will like start a company when I'm 70. I have no, time is so not important, right? But then I felt like it was now or never. So I quit the corporate job and decided to start this wine company, and had no experience in the industry, no money, no track record as an entrepreneur, no connections in that industry, but just had this like sheer determination to do it. And that set me off on this like 10-year path of building that company, and ended up on Shark Tank, got the deal with Mark Cuban. And then that led to like extreme burnout and completely reinventing myself again at around, what age was that? 40. And so since then I've started a different type of company, hospitality, real estate. And with all that, freed up a lot of time, and then started the podcast. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I just love creating things. I love entrepreneurship. I love building, anything. But it's been a fun journey so far.
So there are so many people that think that startups are the way to go. It is hard work. It is 24/7. You think that the product that you want to bring to the public is great until you've brought it to the public with everybody else's money, and you're so completely pregnant you can't quit. You have to just forge on, and that's so many people. But the juice is worth the squeeze. I mean, you wouldn't probably trade all those experiences for anything, would you?
No, I'm a completely different person today, for having taken all those hits along the way. That's how you grow. You really do. It forces you to grow and figure out who you are, and change is good. But yeah, it's a crazy process. I think people, I still talk to people today who are in the thick of it, and I'm just like, God, people have no idea what people go through. It's just such a crazy process.
And nobody to talk to, because you can't talk to your family because you've got all their money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to say, oh man, this thing's going down the drain, because then they go, oh good, I'm going to kill you. So yeah, it is. And Adrian, was that your term, that it was like building a sandcastle at low tide?
I don't think so.
Oh, have you ever heard that comment about?
Yeah, that's a great description.
But it's the truth. I mean, it takes, if you want to know what it takes, if the answer is all you've got, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing on your podcast that is like important to these people to go right now, to go find that podcast, download it, and follow you?
Yeah. So I think when I was starting the wine company, so much of the content out there was from the investor VC perspective. And I feel like they talk about, your pitch deck, and they talk about all this stuff, the tactical side of, what you need to raise money, or the investor side of it. But there's this human side of raising money. And there's this it is one of the hardest things you can do, to go out, and you have to be so passionate about something to ask someone else for money to fund your idea. Right.
Yep.
And it took me forever. I pitched hundreds of investors. This was before Shark Tank, to raise $500,000 to launch the company. So I have a couple points with the podcast. One, money should never be an obstacle to doing what you want to do. There's tons of money out there. There's people who are looking for startups, things they're passionate about to invest in. So I believe where there's a will, there's a way. You just have to kind of understand what it takes to do. And then I think a lot of the pitfalls in raising funding, I try to just be really honest, with what those are, and what the process is, and what to look out for, and how to do it the right way. I made a lot of mistakes. So with the podcast, I'm just trying to basically, air all my dirty laundry, talk about all the stuff I did wrong, have other people on, and hopefully save people from some of the mistakes that I made.
When you, this whole deal called contact mapping that we subsequently merged with another company, but he and I, how many years did we work on that?
6.5.
6.5 years. And how much did we raise?
A lot.
Over millions.
Yeah, millions.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like he and I, with no real outside help. We just decided, and we went after it, and had such a fervent belief in it, and it ended up working out. But most of them don't, correct?
Yeah, a lot of times it doesn't. And it's tough, because typically when people go out to raise money, it's when they really, really need it. And that's a tough spot to be. It's challenging. It can be, it takes a lot of mental strength to push through. You're trying to balance growing the business, trying to get them funding. It's a roller coaster. It can be really tough. So that's awesome, though. Congrats to you guys. That's great. Very cool.
I had a blast with it. It solidified our relationship. he's like a son to me, and that's pretty good.
Her timeline and origin story was just, so grew up around an entrepreneurial dad who was around and had time, did almost exactly 7 years of the corporate thing.
Oh, wow.
What am I doing with my life? I'm, just getting killed all the time here for somebody else. Went and started something, got my head beat in, like all of the above. So it's, I feel like we're on a parallel path, and there's a lot I could learn from you. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Oh, very cool. I love that.
And one of the local guys here in town that has been a little bit of help to us, I give him a lot more credit like I try to act like we're a lot better friends than we really are, is Brad Feld. And Brad Feld was head of the Foundry Group, and he did Fitbit and Guitar Hero, went to MIT. And he's been a big asset to us just because we can drop his name and open doors. But you have got to figure out how to like open every door and capitalize on everything at that and never be ashamed. Yeah, like you said, you have to be so passionate about what you're doing. You can't let anything be willing to stop you, correct?
Yeah, you gotta, and there's so many naysayers, and there's so many, even sometimes the closest family members can, be the ones who plant that little seed of doubt, and you gotta just like ignore it and stay focused on the end goal.
Oh yeah, we can relate to that one too. Yeah, that's so Jayla, now what are you doing? You're in love with community. What does that even mean to you?
I mean, I just love networking and meeting people. I think it's been one of the, funnest parts of my career is just networking with all kinds of people. I've had so many different, stages of my career, and all those relationships I've learned from so many people. And I love bringing people together. So, again, with the podcast, and I think women especially, it's, I've had some incredible female mentors and male mentors. But I don't know. I think women can always use a little bit more of a, support system, especially in entrepreneurship and just career, building in general. So I don't know. I just love community building and, leveraging the podcast to do that, and working with people and kind of helping where I can.
Yeah. So having been in that entrepreneurial seat, having, had to face figuring out how to raise money and what the good things that come with that and the bad things that come with that, for somebody who's an entrepreneur and, maybe dreams about raising venture capital someday, or, I think there's a lot of like glamour in the idea of these things that sometimes doesn't square with the reality. And so what are some things, if you're talking to somebody that's like, I'm thinking about doing this, or that's the path I want to go down, or whatever, what are some things that people should be thinking about that maybe you don't see until you get on the other side of the fence?
Well, I think you did mention a big one. A lot of people just think I'm going to go raise VC money. I'm going to go pitch VCs. And in some ways it can feel easier because VCs are out there, their names, their websites are there. You just apply, that kind of thing. But VCs are you have to be aligned with their growth goals, and that has to be your goal. And I think the high majority of people I talk to, they're passionate about their company, but it doesn't mean they want to kill themselves and try to be this unicorn. They would be totally happy with a profitable business that is growing and making a difference. And that's not really what VCs are looking for. So I think one of the things I talk to people right out of the gate is like, what are your personal life goals, and make sure that aligns with your investors' goals. So I think private angel investors are really a great way to go, unless you're that like high growth tech company who's looking to like take it to the moon. Most people are not, really ready for VC or aligned with VCs. And I think that's a big disconnect, right? Because again, VCs are putting the content out there. When you hear it in the news, it's usually a company that got funded by a VC. You don't hear about the 10 others, that failed. Sure. And they invest in so few a year. So there's just a lot of hype around that. But the reality is like really good old fashioned networking and finding private investors who, have extra money they want to give back, or they want to invest in something they're passionate about. That's really like the best way for a lot of people to go to try to raise money.
That's great advice. And the other thing you said earlier that would be, I'd love for you just to expand on, right? You talked about that it's hard, a lot of times entrepreneurs don't try to start raising money until they need money. And there's this catch-22 that's actually kind of the, like, depending on how serious that need is, that's like the worst possible timing. And so what are some things that, whether, even if you're not sure you want to raise money, because right now you don't actually need it, if you're an entrepreneur, what are some like just general baseline activities that you should be doing to help to kind of have the have the soil ready if the time comes when you do need to go out there and start raising some funds?
Yeah, so a few things. I just spoke with a guy who did this so well. He spent 8 or 9 months while he was kind of developing his product in the background, just searching investor on LinkedIn and connect, didn't message, wasn't pitching for anything, built up this massive, group of kind of aligned people on LinkedIn. Probably a lot of them didn't make sense, but he just still spent a bunch of time, 8 or 9 months building that up.
Sure.
And then when the time came to raise money, he just started posting content and, and he closed his round. It was like in 60 days. It was super quick when he started pitching. So I think that any entrepreneurship groups you have, in your community, just start going to those, show up, be a familiar face who's always there, talk to people. You really just got to start building those connections. Building an advisory board early can really help. People who have contacts who can, they can then kind of put it out there when you go to when you do go to raise that money. So just really connecting with people. And there's a lot of platforms nowadays too, online, where you can connect with people and like filter and find the right people and stuff like that too. So yeah, I would just say start early, networking, building connections. And then when you're finally ready, you've at least got some warm leads to talk to.
So drill your well before you're thirsty is what you're really saying.
Love that. Yes, exactly.
And the crazy thing about it is get rid of your agenda and make your agenda develop in relationships by meeting people. And as you meet them, jot down everything you know about them and put them on a rotation of remind. Remind them constantly that you are thinking about them, that you're in their corner, and don't tell them you need them right now. Just get yourself into their subconscious. Do you know who Sarah Letterman is?
I don't know.
Do you know who Darren Marble is?
Nope.
Okay, good. I'm going to introduce you to them. They are two of the most. Sarah is all over the world helping people connect and be around people like you.
Oh,
so she's somebody that is hand dropped for you. Darren Marble, I met because he loves sober CEOs, and I'm a sober non-CEO. I'm a sober employee of a CEO. But at the end of the day, he's got a TV show, and he just crossed 100 million views on things that you are absolutely passionate about. And all I ever do, I swear this is true, I meet somebody and my mind goes to, how can I help this person? And then I remind them that I'm constantly thinking about that. So when the day comes that I need help, they know I've been thinking about them, and they're going to have an open ear to me versus some stranger coming out of the sky blue. That's essentially who you are, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think without an agenda is the key piece of what you said there. I totally agree. And the investors that ended up funding my company initially before Mark Cuban, they were through like 7 different connections.
Yeah.
So you just never know where they're going to lead. And likewise, being willing to how can you help people? It's reciprocal. So yeah, totally agree.
So you said that the Cuban relationship was completely exhausting and not easy on you. Talk about what that, everybody dreams that all of a sudden he says, I'm giving you X amount of dollars for X amount of X part of your company. What happened to you after that? You were absolutely over the moon happy. Then what happened?
Yeah. And totally not his fault. It was my own doing for sure. I think, he is of course an intense, person and works all hours. But he's in it for the right reasons. Cannot say a bad thing about the guy. I never expected to actually have him directly helping. And he puts so much into his Shark Tank companies. So really great guy. But what it was, you spend all this time trying to open doors. And then your product is shown on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban. And all of a sudden, everybody's calling you. And the huge mistake I made was trying to do everything and saying yes to everything and spreading ourselves way too thin. So we were trying to go into resorts in Vegas and Whole Foods and Costco and bars and spas and everything. And we were not, funded to be able to go at a national scale like that. And we were also about 5 years too early. So this was like before White Claw came out. So we were trying to educate like all the distributors, the end consumer. It was just and it's a tough industry anyway. So I was killing myself. I was putting everything back into the company, not paying myself, all the things that we all do, and just totally led to burnout. And, you have someone like Mark Cuban, and all my investors were great, and you do not want to disappoint them, right?
Yeah.
You are willing to like kill yourself to try to just, follow through on your word and at least just do what you say you're going to do. So, James and we had put off having kids. I'd missed, so many different family vacations, dinners, baby showers, weddings. And finally, we were like, I was like, this is not sustainable. My great grandmother died of a heart attack at 46. I had high blood pressure at this point. And I was like, you know what, this is just not worth it. This isn't the dream I thought was the dream. It's not the dream. And I talked to all of my investors, and they said, it's not for lack of hard work. And they were fully supportive in me transitioning out of the company. And I took a year off, decompressed. We had our son, and I was like, oh my gosh, now I have no idea what I'm good at. Like, what the heck am I going to do next?
Did the company go on, or did you close the company up?
Yeah. So I had two companies lined up to acquire it. And one of them, we were actually on the show Beyond the Tank, and they filmed the whole thing with us. I mean, we worked out the whole deal. And then they were like, oh, we can't get the equipment. Like, it's not going to work out after the show aired. So I don't know, I don't know if that had to do with it, but whatever, that fell through. And then another company, we'd finalized all the terms. They'd rebranded it. And then they got acquired right before we signed the deal, and it fell through. It was definitely pretty devastating to lose both of those. Yeah. And at that point, I was like sick as a dog, pregnant. I was just like, I really need to cut it off. So we wound the operations down and ended up just closing it, which is really not what you imagine when you kick it off and start it off. It's a very painful exercise.
Yeah. So you took a year off, obviously partly with having your first child. That's awesome. What was that? Talk about that experience of going, when you're a founder, you do everything. And so, you're good at, you're ostensibly good at everything, and you're ostensibly not good at anything anymore. And you're, what was that process like for you of figuring out what life after being a founder looks like?
Well, I think there's a physical part of being burnt out where you're literally just almost numb. You're so burnt out. I didn't have the energy to talk to people. I was just fried, and it physically depletes you, right? Yeah. So I spent quite a bit of time just getting my body back to normal, cortisol levels, all that stuff. And I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know what I'm good at, but I know I do not want to start another company. I don't care if I never start another company, but if I did start another company, it would be a service-based business. But I have no desire to do that. So I'm going to go work for someone else. I'll collect a paycheck. I want my weekends off. So I ended up getting a job as a VP of sales and marketing for a music company here in Santa Barbara, smaller company, 20 million. And family run company. I was like, this is cool. Music industry, legendary company in the music industry. And I ended up, our CEO, who is my boss, is one of the most incredible women. She's not the founder. She was hired in as a CEO. We're still the closest of friends. We text almost every day. And she's the one who really gave me my confidence back and showed me all the things I was good at and how much I had actually learned in that 10 years. Yeah. And I was just I think, her every day for the confidence she gave me. Because from that, I was like, oh, I'm good at all this stuff. I just didn't realize it, you know. And it's a weird thing. It's a really not fun place to sit there and go, I've done all this stuff, but I don't know what I'm good at. And I think it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I ended up at that point, we fell into this, kind of started investing in vacation rentals. And then I was like, oh, I could actually do this as a business. And that evolved into kind of this hospitality company that I have now. But yeah, it was a slow process coming out of that. And it took a variety of things to kind of get me back on track.
So what is the website for the hospitality company?
So atlas-vacations.com, and we manage luxury properties in Stowe, Vermont. We have about 25 big properties, beautiful places there that we manage. And then also here in Santa Barbara. It's really fun. So I learned some hard lessons the first time around. We're staying very focused, you know, small, not trying to grow it crazy. We're buying properties as well as managing them. And it's a lot of fun. I like it. It took me a little while, you know, even this company, it was a grind to set it up at the beginning, but now I've got it pretty optimized where I'm out of the day to day and just, you know, get to put more time into the podcast.
Is that where I was going
Family.
when we got in the car wreck?
Not quite still, but
Yeah, last year on July 24th, we got in a terrible head-on collision on our 55 miles an hour each. We rolled 4 times, almost killed my wife and I, who's watching the show, on our way to a family reunion up in that neck of the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
So we were in New Hampshire, and God bless those people in New Hampshire. I was in the emergency room for 3 days. Adrian, the family, just, I mean, unbelievable stuff. But yeah, it was all, so when you said Stowe, Vermont, like my heart stopped. But,
wow.
Just so lucky. Yeah, we're the luckiest people in the world. I mean,
oh my God. That's crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of roads like that where they're like, you know, just head on, you know, no medians or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow, you're lucky. That is crazy.
Yeah. My wife was driving, and thank God, because it would have been worse because I would have done something really dumb, but it was not our fault. And thank God we're alive, and we're going to go to Stowe, Vermont now and visit you guys and go visit that place that saved our life.
Keene, New Hampshire.
King, New Hampshire?
Keene.
Oh, Keene. Yeah, that's right near where I grew up. Wow.
Keene, New Hampshire. They Cheshire Medical Clinic. We love those people, and I still correspond with them because they saved my life, and God bless them. So
wow.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get James, and we'll come and visit one of your joints and rent a luxury house and go do it again. Right.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Let's do it. That'd be fun.
Back to the show. Sorry. Didn't mean to take you down a rabbit hole, but I freaked when I heard that.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. That's, and just last year, that's not even that long ago. That's
10 months.
Very fresh. I'm glad you're okay. That's unbelievable.
So Jayla, all these women that are watching this show, that they're home-based business entrepreneurs. I mean, they put their $500 up or their 1,000 up, and they're getting up every morning and doing everything they can to be the best that they could be. What advice do you have? Because everybody gets burnout. Everybody, especially in network marketing, you're talking to your friends and family, and they just want no part of you. What would you say to these people with this dream not to let anything hijack it, because you don't want to let anything hijack it?
Yeah, you just have to be so laser focused. And for me, I think it's more about what you don't do than what you do a lot of times. So for me, you know, especially with the world where it's at right now, I don't watch much news. I don't get sucked into social media. I listen to positive stuff. I kick my day off with like a positive podcast. I'm a huge Joe Dispenza fan. I think there is so much to like really rewiring our brains. I think we all have stuff we've gone through or had to go through. And I believe like repetition is the best way to do that. I've proved it. I mean, some of the things that have happened for me have been through me just visualizing it over and over and over and over. And I like read the same, whatever my goals are, I read it right before I go to bed. I make sure that's what's in my brain before I go to bed. And you just have to block everything else out. And then you have to have this immense trust that if you just do that long enough, it will happen. And it's happened for me so many times that now I'm afraid not to do that, because we are, making things happen one way or the other. We're either making what we want, we're kind of manifesting what we want, or we're manifesting what we don't want. So whatever it is we're focusing on is the thing that's going to happen. I believe that to my core. I've witnessed it so many times. So I think, you just have to say, who cares? My favorite saying lately is the only two people you should care about are your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self,
There you go.
And I think it's like, I don't know, who cares what other people think? Like, even if it is your closest family member, I have some, fortunately, James, my husband, has always been super supportive, but I have some other close family members who've said some really hurtful things to me over the years and really put down what I was doing. And it's hard to block that out. It can be really hard. It's hard to not let that like get to your core.
Yeah.
But the best way I find to just kind of keep it out is to like fill up my head with positive stuff and align myself with positive people who are doing it, and just stay super focused on it. So I think, I don't know. And then just, again, trusting that it works, and it does. You just, it takes time though. And I think nothing happens quickly. That's the words I live by are patience and persistence. Like, things don't necessarily happen overnight. You have to be patient. Sometimes there's some twists and turns to get there. But overall, I think if it's really what we want, we can make it happen.
And your kids are watching you grow up, and you are watching your kids grow up. And every day is take mom to work day, and every day is take the kids to work day. And they see the ups, they see the downs, they see the in-betweens, instead of having you disappear every morning to go to China for a month, which is everybody. It's so critically important. And I love, my wife's a Martha Beck and a Byron Katie coach. So she lives in that kind of world, like Joe Dispenza and all that stuff that you do too. And it's so gratifying to me in the mornings to look up and watch her out on the deck, just, being with her. I'm never with me. I'm always, I'm a train wreck. I make James look like nobody wants to be married to me. But at the end of the day, what I love about you guys is the boundaries that you've got and the focus that you've got on the important stuff, instead of chasing somebody else's dream, chasing that almighty dollar or that evasive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You are tangible about what you want to do and how you're going to, and that's you. I mean, kind of.
The portrait of boundaries.
The portrait of boundaries.
That hits the nail on the head. And it's a constant ebb and flow. And so that's the work. I'm curious, what are you visualizing and moving yourself toward right now, Jayla?
Oh, good question. So I am actually focused on, haven't kind of announced it publicly yet, but a strategic partner for the East Coast to take that mostly off my plate, basically, which I'm excited about. And then basically growing the hospitality business just in Santa Barbara, and transitioning slowly to doing seed money full time. So I define success at this point with like how many vacations we take a year.
There you go.
So having all summer to be able to travel, together. Last year we did 6 weeks. We went to Vermont. We went to Italy for 3 weeks. We were in New Hampshire. So for me, like, my vision for my life right now is really all about spending time with family. I always want to keep incrementally growing my income because I love money and it helps us do a lot of things, but I'm not obsessed with it being having to hit a certain number by a certain time. So I'm more focused on like where we want to continue accumulating wealth and buying properties. But I'm really focused on doing it where I'm working, 20 to 30 hours a week and not tied to my phone all day. That's my biggest kind of goal.
Cool. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
We love Ojai, which is just up the hill.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a place there too?
No, we don't, but Ojai is great. We have a place about 45 minutes north of Santa Barbara in wine country, Los Alamos.
Yeah, we're going to come and rent that one of these days.
Yeah, come on. You guys would love it. It's a great spot.
You're going to love my wife, and she loves the wine, so she'll have fun there. It'll be awesome.
Oh, goodness. That is too funny. Jayla, you are awesome, and I think it's really cool the openness of the journey that you've been on, and for you to take all of those lessons learned and apply them to others, and to live out those lessons, in the way that you're kind of building your life around family and around creating the kind of lifestyle that you want to have, instead of getting kind of trapped into some sort of hamster wheel situation, it's really inspiring and really cool. So thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, we love you. And everybody, what's the name of that thing, that podcast? Seed Money Podcast.
Seedmoneypodcast.com, right?
Yep, seedmoneypodcast.com. Yep.
Is there some sort of button where, if any of these, I've got 3 different people that asked me how to reach you if they want to ask you a question. Do you take questions on that show?
Oh, yeah. LinkedIn is there. And I dedicate my Fridays to, usually they're pitch deck reviews. But if somebody has a question and wants to do 30 minutes and just sit and chat, I'm happy to do that. So I'm happy to chat.
Super cool. I'm going to introduce you to Sarah and Darren. And that's about all the friends in that world I've got. No, I got plenty. So I'm going to help you a ton. I love you. I love your husband. Is there a shirt back on the? Grab one of those back there. All right. Sorry about that. So all of you. My wife just texted. I didn't think she was watching, and she just noticed that I said my wife loves the wine, but she spelled it WH. So that was even better. But
oh my gosh.
Do a T-shirt that says "Love Like Crazy, Then Love More," or a hoodie. And so you'll just decide. Michelle will get this to you. And if anybody else wants to pay for a very, very high-priced sweatshirt, go to swag.contactmapping.com. There it is. And you can buy one of these things, but don't blame me for the prices. He priced it. So it's awesome. And I love you. And thank you very much, Jayla. And hug James. We'll send him a sweatshirt too. And I'll never forget when we were down. We went to, her husband and I went to listen to Jay Moore at the Hollywood Improv with a whole bunch of really high-profile Saturday night alum, and we had the time of our life, just hanging and spending time. And he's adorable, and I can hardly wait to come and see you kids. So I love you.
Yeah, please come out. This has been so fun. Thank you. And I got to have you on the Seed Money podcast, so we'll get you guys on there soon.
You want him? He's the one. You don't want me. I don't know anything. I love you. Or both of us. I love you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you later.
You guys too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.